A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. This is a scene from the province of Ravenna in Italy, a video courtesy of Weather Nation. And you can see here the ongoing situation, a very, very serious situation, ongoing flooding. There has been reports of deaths, and the cleanup operation is going to be massive in many parts of Italy. But before we get into the video, please like, please share with your friends and family, and do indeed hit that subscribe button. There is so much to cover in today's video. I do appreciate each and every view, and also drop a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think of the content. And how significant has the rainfall been in the last few days? So this is a screen capture from Chris Fox's weather report on the BBC, and you can see here Storm Minerva is the system that's been and gone and dropped that amount of rain that has caused the flash flooding. So upwards of a half a year's worth of rain has fallen in the last 36 hours, causing, of course, severe flooding, landslides, and whatnot. Over 200 millimeters of rain has fallen in the mountains, and it looks as if like I said in the last video, we're not done just yet, because we do have another feature coming out of Africa. An unusual situation at the moment here with the storm track. The jet stream is all the way down in the northern portions of Africa. Very, very unusual to see that at this time of the year. Normally you have the subtropical ridge now becoming too strong for any kind of penetration of fronts from the north, and hence why the Mediterranean significantly dries out typically at this time of the year, or certainly over the next few weeks. You would typically find that it becomes hot, dry, sunny, very little in the way of weather, with the exceptions of rogue thunderstorms. But looking back at the month of May in particular, and the reason why it's been potentially the wettest May in Italian history for the past 70 years anyway, has been that we had an extreme rain event on the 2nd and 3rd of May, then the 16th and the 17th of May, and over the next few days we're going to see another system moving up from the north here. So pretty problematic weather, that's for sure, in this region of the world. Now, if we play through the loop, this is off the ECNWF today, and you can see what's taking place. We've got this area of low pressure over Tunisia. Quite unusual to see that at this time of the year in particular. I do think there was reports of potential snow in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco, believe it or not. So quite interesting stuff. But you look at the mess here, enhanced area of convection, showers, thunderstorms, longer spells of rain. It is a very, very messy picture. And what a turnaround this is compared to what we've seen this time last year, where it was beginning the record drought, the extreme heat was starting to build, and that was setting the stage for, I believe it was either the warmest or a tie of the warmest European summer on record. I think we're not going to see that this year. That is my thought and my prediction, based on the fact that we've had such a wet, not so much cool. The cool isn't as the important factor in all this. It's more the amount of water that we're now starting to put into the ground. And then, of course, as we progress through the summer season with a lot of wet ground, a lot of the sun's incoming energy goes into evaporating all that moisture that's been laid in the soils. Basically, what happens is you increase the strength of the sun. That sun penetrating the ground forces the moisture, the water vapor, to come out of the soils, and therefore a lot of the energy from the sun goes into evaporating that moisture as opposed to heating the air mass. If you've got very dry conditions like we've seen in Iberia over the last 12 months or so, rivers run dry, reservoirs running dry, and that is a lot of the contributing factor as to why we're seeing such incredible warmth for a period of time at the end of April, early May in parts of Spain, is the dry soils feeding back to the atmosphere. It's a classic textbook example of how soil moisture responds to the atmosphere above. And I think that laying all this moisture down in the soils, like I say, I could be very wrong here, and all of a sudden we have a terrific heat wave later in June or July or August or whatever, and I could be totally wrong with that. but the amount of water that we're now laying down could have a tempering effect of the heat this upcoming summer season. But we do have this next system coming in. I think it's Nevo is the name being put on this system. And what happens is you notice here that as that feature moves off Africa and into the Mediterranean, it's got moisture. Of course, the warm waters of the Mediterranean Sea is then getting drawn up into the atmosphere, enhancing the amount of moisture, rainfall, and whatnot. And of course, that is what happens. That is why quite often geography, warm sea surface temperatures, atmosphere all come together to create these extreme rainfall events. And I know that climate change is getting attributed to this, but of course, there is a long, long history of flash flooding in this part of the world due to, like I say, a warm ocean basin or sea basin geography, and of course the location within the world itself all contributes to this type of setup. But it basically is a case of we're going to see this energy. Now, it's not one area of low pressure with a shield of moisture and gale force winds like you typically would see in our region of the world, so the UK or Ireland, but it's more like a kind of pulsating effect. This area of low pressure is like a trigger, and what it does is it's using the warmth of the Mediterranean Sea, the cold air aloft, unusually cooler within the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, creates a tremendous amount of upward motion, convection, tar and cumulonimbus clouds, thunderstorms, and heavy rainfall. And that is how you see these flash flood events, 200 millimeters of rain falling in a very short space of time. That is why we're seeing that, because of the warm environment that is surrounding this area of low pressure and the cold air contained aloft. So you can see here this pulsating effect taking place as we progress later today into tomorrow and through the course of the weekend. What we're going to see is as that sun then starts to strengthen, warms the atmosphere at the bottom, it then is reacting with the cold layer in the mid levels of the atmosphere, so that forces the upward motion. It's called lapse rate, the level of cooling with height. And you increase the lapse rate, you increase the upward motion, the speed at which the air is traveling vertically up through the column. So trying to give you a little bit of a flavour as to why we're seeing this situation taking place over the southern portion of Europe and the Mediterranean basin. But a very messy picture. High pressure is in control anywhere from to the west of the Azores all the way up towards northwestern Russia. The UK as a whole is protected by that area of high pressure, but we are seeing features running over the top of that high, increasing the cloud cover, especially across the northern half of the British Isles. Tends to be a little bit drier, brighter, sunnier, and indeed slightly warmer across England and Wales. But this is, of course, early Sunday morning. Let's skip back to early Saturday morning, and we've got front number one moving across the top, increasing the cloud cover. There's the second feature, that's the 24 hours later. We're going to see that feature over the same area as the frontal system that we've got tomorrow morning. And you can see this idea then that basically these frontal systems kind of ride over the top of the UK. Now, over the last couple of days, we did see those fronts moving south into England and Wales. But what we're going to see is that area of high pressure becoming a little bit stronger over England and Wales, and it's going to stop the southward progress of that frontal system moving southwards here. So essentially this frontal system decays and we're left with a kind of bank of cloud across Northern Ireland, the Republic, Scotland. Drier, brighter, sunnier. And even with that, there's not a tremendous amount of rain associated with these fronts as they become absorbed by that area of high pressure. All the while, we continue to see very unsettled conditions and cooler than average conditions across the Med Basin. So I know Mark Kinnish is, I think he's back now, but he was enjoying his holiday in Malta, and he did say that the temperatures were fairly subdued for the time of the year, only 21, 22 degrees at very best, and there was rain off and on in the forecast. So interesting stuff, because you could be expecting temperatures a lot warmer now at this time of the year down there. But all the while, we're just seeing this continued pulsing effect of these showers and thunderstorms blowing up over a large swathe of the continent here. The reason why we're seeing that, folks, is if you look at the week one of the CFSV2, you can see what's taking place. So there's that area of high pressure across the northern half of the British Isles, and indeed the northern half of Europe, really, should I say. So what that's doing is it's forcing all this low pressure, disturbed weather across the southern half of the continent, and indeed, Spain and Portugal, where of course there was all that fussing and panic about the heat wave. That's gone now, and we're seeing the rains now starting to take place even in this region of the world as well. At a time you would expect to see a warming trend. So isn't that quite interesting indeed? Looking at the rainfall over the next 7 days here, you can see here it's wetter than average across the Mediterranean basin, drier than average as you would expect across more central and northern areas of the continent here. And 2 meter temperature anomalies with that rain, it's keeping the temperatures below average. Look at northwestern Africa. Not much fussing and talk about that, is there? So that's quite interesting, actually, really, when you think about this here. So, like I said, I'm planning to hopefully finish off my summer forecast this weekend and have it released on marvelwinweather.com on Monday of next week. So stay tuned for that here. But yeah, plenty of things going on, and keep it right here on my YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button, and I will be back on Sunday with the global weather and climate report. I may have a video tomorrow, I may not. So if I don't see you, I'll see you on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll see you again hopefully in the next day or two. Bye for now.